Hello, everyone. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Museum Ship Mafia. I'm Connor Kilgore with Museum Ships, the website and Facebook group. Joining me tonight, we have Shane Stephenson from the Buffalo Naval Park. And also with me today, we have John F., curator at the USS Slater. It's going to be an exciting episode. We will be talking with Park Stephenson as well as Tim Nesmith, hopefully, about what they've been doing at the Kidd. It's been a little over a year now since we had either of them on, so we're looking forward to seeing them back with us yet again. But before we do that, we're going to change things up a little bit this month, and we are going to actually talk about our ships and our organizations first before we then get into the big part of our show. So who wants to start us off tonight? Shane, how about you?
Okay. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Okay, so I am not able to connect and comment to people, so I'm just letting you know that I'm saying hi to everybody now, but I can't actually... It's a whole thing. You got to connect with YouTube, and the two-factor authentication is like at work. So it's like our meat board. But so there's been a lot going on this winter, and we have some photos for you here. So hope everyone's doing well, by the way. So one of the biggest things that we're working on this winter is for America 250. We are reconfiguring our museum space on the second floor. And it's going to harken back to Buffalo and Western New York and the War of 1812, Revolutionary War, and then all the conflicts all the way through Global War on Terror. So this is a board that we secured from the museum at Silversides, which shows a fleet in formation. And actually, I think Silversides procured it from the Gerald Ford Presidential Museum. So it's now has its third home here, but then you can see our Airacobra is still there, our P-39 hanging there.
It's funny you bring that up, Shane, because I was looking at it and I was thinking to myself, that reminds me of the table I saw at the Silversides Museum. It is the table.
And it is the table. You know, it shows steaming formations. This is obviously where the threat is low. You know, there's different steaming formations depending on whether there's a high probability of attack or a low probability of attack. This is the standard. It's daylight. You're in the middle of the Pacific. You know, nothing's going to be there's no threats out there, imminent threats. But it's cool. It talks about carriers, destroyers, cruisers, and battleships. So each side of the rectangular square has a little stuff. Yeah, that's true. Mine time, thank you.
I
didn't do it.
So we do have a brief question quickly. Yes, I can see the comments if we have questions. So feel free to ask any questions, and if we have time, I will bring it up and we will answer it to the best of our ability. Yeah. All right. So
is that the Pittsburgh on the front?
Yes, it is. You can tell by because there's no
the longest ship in the world.
You got it. No bow on that. So yeah, here's go ahead, Connor.
Yeah, so are we looking here at like a space that is being completely rearranged, I imagine?
Correct. Yeah, we used to have a tent up there, like a big like field tent. That's been removed.
Yeah, I remember that.
Exposing that wall that you see on the right with the 6 windows. So this was, earlier in the winter time. It's now the table's in place and things like that. So it's again our way of celebrating America 250. So just kind of speaking of using artifacts from our collection, and this is a project Stephen Tedesco, our director of education, has really taken under. My office is on the ships. His is right up here on the second floor. So we kind of divvied up the work duties that he would kind of manage and exhibit the upstairs. So I'm a secondary player with this, and he says, hey, I'm looking for these things, and then I would go and retrieve them for him.
I see. All right. So the next frame is, I'm assuming this is more of the work.
Yeah, another photo. Yeah.
Okay. And Santa Claus is here.
Yeah, we had a couple Saturdays in Christmas, a couple Saturdays in December around Christmas time where we showed old movies and had Santa. So, and I tell you, that's a beautiful suit. I don't know where he got it, but that suit's pretty fabulous. So he's one of our docents named Bob, and we had hot cocoa and coffee, and people could watch a movie and talk to Santa, and then look around the collections as well, or look around the exhibits.
Yeah, that's honestly a really cool idea.
Yeah.
All right. So the next picture is this. What is this?
Yeah. So this is something that I've been working on over the winter. We secured a roller scanner, and that's what this is. So you can put something safely 3 feet wide at its widest point. It could be as long as you need. And, preparing for dry dock and things, the companies that we'll be working with are, asking for blueprints. And we certainly have a large set of the Sullivans that I've begun over the winter to begin cataloging and starting to scan. That then they can have easy access to. I haven't cataloged those, and Brendan, the caretaker of the Little Rock, has been really helpful with helping me catalog those. And then we're going to scan, especially the most important ones that say TNT or Don John would need right away. Also, we have about 153 Croker blueprints. So we purchased this scanner to be able to do the blueprints on our own. So you roll it kind of where the mouse is, you roll it through. You definitely need 2 people, especially if a blueprint is 9 feet long, which we've seen. And it just kind of comes through the back like on a feeder roll.
Right.
Very cool.
Yeah, I started my historical career as they called them digitizers at the Thunder Bay Museum back in 2011. And we didn't have one that's big. It was just a small scanner that was used primarily for photographs and newspapers.
Yes.
So I was looking at that. I was like, I wasn't 100% sure if that was a scanner or not. Fascinating.
Yeah.
So I guess you're redoing our gift shop.
Well, this gift shop, we are now for this season bringing a gift shop back aboard the USS Little Rock. So
right.
This was our store that we redesigned a couple of years ago to bring it back to the ship's store. And so it's been populated with things that I purchased from eBay, puzzles, magazines, comic books, old cigarette packs, things like that, the things you would be able to buy in a ship's store. And then it was decided that because of encampments and, we have Sea Scouts, we've got Boy and Girl Scouts, we have Sea Cadets on board. It's a very active place. And so why don't we actually have a second point of sale? And so they're preparing that to get ready for our season where people can actually just buy some item. It won't be every item that's in our gift shop on land, but it will be certain items, a few T-shirts and things that you see there that they'll be able to purchase right on the ship itself.
Well, the only hat I don't have from you guys is a Sullivan hat, so I'm going to have to pay that a visit at some point. They were completely sold out when I visited in 23.
Well, that's a good thing then, I guess. Yeah, if they're selling,
I'm going to have to come back at some point. I got the Croker and I've got a Little Rock, but I don't.
Thanks so much thank you. Appreciate that. That's cool.
Yeah, I still need to get your challenge coins too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So I'm guessing restoration work is nonstop, and I'm guessing that's what this is related to.
Yes, and before this happened, so before the great thaw of 2026. You'll see that pipe and the elbow joint right there on the right-hand side. There was ice buildup that leads right to the main deck near a scupper, and water just exploded out of that pipe. So what you'll see here is you see insulation on the top, above that longitudinal, and then you see the hull on the bottom. So it's recently been painted, which is nice. I was planning on putting a dry dock exhibit at like a pop-up exhibit explaining what a dry dock does, and that's right on the Little Rock when people come in. So then they would be able to learn about what a dry dock is, our 2 ships. I talk about the Kidd and I talk about the Cobia as well in that exhibit. And it was all getting ready to be put into the space. And then we had that flooding casualty. So the crew have been working hard. They removed that insulation that you see again below the longitudinal. It's still there above the longitudinal, but we need to do some sealing, as you can see up there, and securing that.
Well, it's a good thing you hadn't put those artifacts up before that happened.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Miss one. So we do just have a comment here. Where can you go to buy items online from the Buffalo Naval Park?
Thanks, All American Travels. Certainly, we have an online store on our website, so buffalonavalpark.org, and then you'll see an online store, and you can purchase most items. Some items we just don't have on the store. It's either too complex of an order, but you can, I think, buy pretty much 95% of the stuff that you would see in the store there, including challenge coins, I believe. So, yeah. But it's a link on our website.
Yeah, I've checked it out before in the past. It's a really good store. All right. So the next slide here, we have, I guess this is more restoration work that's going on.
Yeah, this is something the crew's been pretty passionate about. It's S1 berthing, so supply 1 berthing, and it was not restored. And so when this is done, this will give us, thank you, All American Travels. That's great. Thank you. That will give us, 25 to 30 extra berths, that we might be able to then expand, potentially for that one more troop, for an encampment, or when the Sea Cadets are here, they might be able to expand it. So it's just increasing our berthing areas and the number of bunks we have available to groups.
I see. Very nice. And then, so I guess you're doing winter tours now, judging by this.
Yes, we on Saturdays and Sundays, we had 3 tours scheduled a day. They were pretty successful this season. And so obviously we look forward to doing that. We actually open for the season this Saturday. But now we're like debating how do we, because it's not our opening because we've already been open all winter. So how to get the message out that we are open in the winter times, but then how to also honor like getting ready and opening for the season. So we open this Saturday at 10 a.m. and we have a little ceremony and we get people on board. So we had to make sure that people were safe. We did have a video. And it really is just crossing through over the Sullivans right onto the Little Rock, and then it was a guided tour of the Little Rock. So it was very similar to our normal self-directed or follow the yellow line tours, but they were all guided with a docent. So
I see.
Yeah.
How's the weather? Is the snow mostly melted for you? Or
we had a 60-degree day yesterday. Today was 57 or something like that. So pretty much most of the snow is all gone. But I think the temperature is going to plunge right back down next week, back into the 20s and 30s, which I'm okay with. It's still winter time up here in Buffalo. So, but yeah, most especially in the Buffalo River, most, if not all of the ice is gone. I don't yet know about Lake Erie, and I've talked about those in some of our videos where it's, I think the most recent was the pitting video where I talk about, the water levels and the frozen Lake Erie and then the frozen Buffalo River. So,
so we have a couple more images here. The first is this. Would you mind giving us information on this?
Yeah, this is, we do a wreath laying in December. And so at all of our monuments, we do have 14 monuments that honor various branches and various memorials. And so, we work with other organizations and we have a wreath laying ceremony at our various monuments.
I see. Yeah. And last picture here. Sorry if these are others. I guess this is just another picture of the displays you're working on the site.
Yes, absolutely. So again, it's going to cover every conflict from revolutionary up into the global war on terror. I don't know if we need to create a new one for Iran, but we'll at least go to the global war on terror.
All right. And so, John, do you have any questions at all?
Just that I'm jealous of that blueprint scanner.
Oh, tell me about it.
As you should be, sir. As you should be.
Yeah, I'm jealous too.
I love digitizing our collection, so
Yes.
not having something that can do just even oversized photographs.
So you have a traditional flatbed?
Just yeah.
I understand.
The newspaper. I mean, anything bigger than that, like if I want to do a newspaper, I got to do an overhead shot with just a camera. It's annoying. And
what you gotta do?
Overhead scanners too. Don't forget that you can buy ones with the camera
there is.
above it.
So so I have one of those overhead book scanner.
Yeah.
It's just the quality is
really
not what a flatbed does.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, what you need to do, John, is convince your museum to let you go away for a couple of days and just hang out on Little Rock.
Yeah.
So what's annoying is we don't have enough oversized stuff to justify buying one of those, or even going there to do scanning.
Understood. I mean, we have a total between our three vessels of. It's probably about 7,000 blueprints, mostly Little Rock. It's 5,687 for the Little Rock. And then, maybe 1,000 or so. So maybe somewhere around 6,800, 7,000 blueprints between our three vessels. So
our blueprints are largely on microfilm. And that's a whole other process just to digitize.
Right.
Yes, it is.
That's frustrating as well.
Okay, so so is there anything you're looking forward to this spring to wrap things up for Buffalo Naval Park?
Well, just as I think a lot of museums say, we're looking forward to just having people back aboard, learning of our ships, engaging with myself and the staff, and it gets pretty quiet during the winter, as I'm sure those in the Northeast, like John, could also attest. And so, just having people back, bringing critical mass, bringing different organizations back, that's what we're here for. So it's always a nice thing to welcome everyone back.
Awesome. All right. So that was Shane Stephenson at the Buffalo Naval Park. If you want to support the Buffalo Naval Park, then feel free to visit their website at buffalonavalpark.org, where you can go buy things off their gift shop. And also you can support them on YouTube, which is the Buffalo Naval Park on YouTube, where Shane's is always there hosting various videos. Always fun to see. And now,
just like to just say, sorry, I just saw it mine twine. We are planning adult overnights. We do have encampments for the kids, but we are in the process of maybe doing 4 or 5 times a year where we would rent out the Little Rock for, for small, for families, but 1 or 2 families at a time, and then they would be overnight. Not a hotel, but that's kind of the flavor of it.
All right. I'll need to keep an eye on that. So next we have John Epp, who is the curator at the USS Slater. John, what's going on?
Yeah, so coming out of winter, we opened for our season on April 1st, so just a few weeks away here. And we're just counting down the days, like Shane said, to welcome people back aboard. I'm most excited to see all of our volunteers again, all of our tour guides. It's been a semi-quiet winter without them. So it's going to be fun seeing everybody again.
Yeah, I bet. When do you open for the season?
April 1st, Wednesday, 10 a.m.
All right. So by the time we have our next episode, you guys will be up and running again.
We will be.
All right. Is there any exciting things happening on Slater? You did send me some photos. Let me just bring them up.
Yeah, we can start going through those. So the last time Slater's mooring lines were renewed were 2020, just after we got back from Drydock. So After this past winter, we've noticed a little bit of fraying here and there. So, we're going to go ahead and redo all of our mooring lines. So trying to learn how to splice rope. That's not a skill I have. So hoping to have some folks to do that. Unfortunately, all of our old bosun's mates that used to do all of this work for us has since passed away. So we got to do it ourselves.
In the 6 years since she was in dry dock.
Yes. Yeah. So our main bosun boats. I don't remember his first name. He did his best to teach our crew, our volunteers and staff how to do certain stuff. So we'll see if we remember all those skills.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you guys will do a great job. So you sent me 6 photos. What's going on here?
Yeah, so Barry Whitty and his Saturday volunteer crew are reproducing the steam piping on the starboard bulkhead of the galley. So to do that, they removed all of the steam kettles. And then behind Ian, who is in the top, sitting down cross-legged, you'll see stainless steel. That's a Greek addition. The Greeks installed stainless steel throughout the galley. So as part of this restoration project, they removed the stainless steel on the bulkhead, cleaned the bulkhead up. So the first time it's probably been open to eyes since 1951, at the latest, when the ship went to Greece. And then they're redoing all the steam lines. And this configuration is largely coming from photographs taken of the Stewart down in Galveston, Texas. They still have their steam kettles in place with all the original piping. So the team there is trying to reproduce that.
Awesome.
It will not be functional.
No.
It'll purely be cosmetic, but it'll look good.
Yeah, that was awesome. So I guess of course,
I should point out,
sure,
they've been doing that work in the galley all winter with no heat.
Oh
yeah.
There is no heat in the galley.
How cold does it get?
Below freezing.
Mm-hmm.
Cold.
Below main deck, below freezing. If
Right.
there's no heat.
Right. So the next picture, I imagine paint is a continuous process. When I was there, you guys make it look like the ship's painted every day. So I imagine that's what we're seeing here.
Partly. So that's Ed,
Yep.
one of our volunteers. All winter, he and a couple other guys have been working to replace all of the fiberglass insulation in the officer staterooms and the officer head.
Wow.
So it's been a big project. Having to remove everything, the bedding and uniforms, etc. They are close to finishing. Getting a little nervous. I'm hoping they're going to be done in the next week or two. We'll see.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, someone.
Yeah, Sir Booms a lot.
Yeah.
Have heard that. That's great. So for those of you that don't know, the last destroyer escort from World War II in service was in the Royal Thai Navy. They just decommissioned her this past fall, and they just announced that they are going to preserve her as a museum, I believe, on land.
Yeah.
In a concrete dock. Is that what or a concrete cradle or some sort?
Yes, from what I understand, it seems like the Thai Navy seems to have a tradition of bringing their ships onto land, and it seems like they're going to be doing the same thing for her.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see where that comes from.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see photos and videos of it. I would love to see how they've modernized the ship over the years.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, the exterior still looks World War II, but I'm sure the interior.
They redid they redid the wheelhouse a fair bit from pictures I've seen. Oh,
they probably enclosed the flying bridge.
Yeah. So obviously, snacks are important. You keep your volunteers well fed.
So this is in the chief's quarters. It doubles as the volunteer hangout space on the ship. And the Monday, Tuesday volunteer crew, there's usually a pile of snacks. Yeah. If their wives knew about this, I'm sure there'd be some finger wagging and talking to. But
Okay.
There's always unlimited coffee and snacks.
And this is just a great photo. I'm assuming this is in the morning.
Yeah, so Thomas Sion, who does most of our Facebook photos, took this, I believe it was last week, or maybe this past Monday, I don't recall. So the river, the ice finally broke up. Just 2 weeks ago, we were iced in. So good to see that it's all just going past us, which is awesome. We didn't really have too much of an issue with the ice this past winter. We did get a little ice under the bow of the ship, and it actually gave us about a 3-degree list to starboard
Oh,
for a
wow.
couple days when the ice was really building up. But otherwise, we haven't had much issue.
Awesome.
That seems really, you seem really far away from the pier in that picture.
I believe we're about 30 feet. Yeah. The ship needs about 15 feet of water. When the tide is out, and we get about a 4-foot tide multiple times a day here. But when the tide is out, you could stand between the seawall and the ship. You can see the bottom.
I see.
Is your brow connected? Am I seeing?
Yeah, this is just a sunrise picture. It's hard to see.
Yeah.
No, the dazzle camouflage.
Yeah.
See, the dazzle is working there, Shane. You can't tell.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I can't even see where the ship is, to tell you the
There you
truth.
go.
Blending in with
Yeah.
the bridge,
Now imagine if you were a U-boat coming up the river, you wouldn't even know we were there.
You wouldn't even know you were there.
So
I
you
would
did
shine the
include,
bell.
yeah. Well, you did include one more picture, and it's by the looks of it, a historic picture. What is going on here?
So March 1st was the, God, you're gonna make me do math. 50, 60, 70, 75th anniversary, 1951.
All right.
Anniversary of the Slater being transferred to the Greek Navy.
Okay. So this is part of that ceremony, I assume.
So these pictures were taken at the ceremony on March 15th, but officially it was March 1st.
I see.
Now, we don't know if this is photographs aboard Slater, because Slater and Ebert, DE 768, they were transferred at the same time. But we do know, so the gentleman up in the gun tub there, this is on the fantail, so that's gun 3. On the left side, you see an older gentleman looking down at his notes.
Mm-hmm.
Behind him, so you can see the right ear and some of the face, that is the Slater in the Greek Navy, so Iatos. That is Iatos's first commanding officer. And then the gentleman to his left with the cricket cap, that is the commanding officer of the Ebert.
I see.
So it's possible this photograph is taken aboard Slater. It's also possible it's taken aboard Ebert. They were nested together at the time.
I see.
So funny that photograph looks like it's and there's like a bishop, a Greek bishop behind the speaker. It's so funny because this picture actually looks like it could be from 1945. Right?
Oh yeah,
with the sepia tone and stuff.
Fascinating.
So,
yeah.
So,
I'm sure you find even now fascinating photos every year.
Periodically we get a lot of folders, a lot of photographs from the Greek sailors. They'll send them to us periodically, so it's nice to see what the ship looked like. Every once in a while, we'll get a photograph of the interior of the ship, so we can kind of see, changes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those are.
I wish we knew more about the ship's service. We don't know a whole lot.
Yeah. Well, who knows? Maybe someday you'll need to just put out a call to any Greek groups and say, "Hey, does anyone have any information?" Because
that's about tidbits here and there, but it's difficult.
All right, then. Well, if people want to support the USS Slater, where do they go?
So, easiest way to support us, of course, our YouTube channel. We don't put out a lot of content, but video or two a month out there. We did this past winter start doing a video series on Slater Signals. So Slater Signals is our monthly email newsletter that you can sign up for free on our website. One of our volunteers has decided to turn it into a video format as well.
Okay.
Try to reach audiences. Otherwise, our website, ussslater.org. Learn about the ship, sign up, become a member. Spoiler alert, we are increasing our membership prices this year. They technically have not changed since like 1975,
All right.
when our parent organization was formed. So if you want to get in on the lower price, you can still do that. But the next few weeks, that's going to change to a higher price.
So you said 75, correct? 1975?
Yeah, so that's when the Destroyer Escort Sales Association was formed.
Right.
And we still have the same prices of their membership.
So if you guys want a membership equivalent to what it was like 50 years ago, a nice little remembrance of the past, be quick to get your
Yeah.
membership now.
$25 a year. That's what it is right now.
All right. Well, thanks very much, John.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I know everyone wants to get to our main event, which is an update on the Kidd, but I'm just going to very briefly do a summary for what's happening at Museum Ships, which is the organization I am with. So if you guys aren't aware, Museum Ships is a website as well as a Facebook group, and we support and promote museum ships around the world. If you visit our website at museumships.us, you can visit our site and get we have a lovely interactive map which shows you the locations of well over 500 museum vessels. And if you're in the mood to buy something, we do actually have a page which links to a ton of different museums' various online stores. So if you want to buy something from Buffalo Naval Park or the USS Slater or the USS Kidd, then feel free to visit us, and we'll have links directly on there as well. Not too much happening on our end. We're steadily growing, especially as I think people are starting to travel a little bit more as things get warmer. So a lot of excitement we're starting to see bubble up for events as museums start reopening here on the north side of things. And we're hoping for a very productive year. Feel free to join our group. Our Facebook, we have a successful Facebook group. We have about 140,000 members now. And we look forward to seeing your posts and your stories and our conversations. I really don't have too much else to report today. But now we are seemingly at the point now where we need to talk about the USS Kidd. And we should have two people with us tonight, although one does not appear to be here yet. But we can introduce one regardless. Please welcome Parks Stephenson from USS Kidd Museum. Hello, Parks.
Hello.
Hey, Parks.
How's it going?
Hello, Parks.
Doing good. How are you doing today?
Just still trying to stay ahead of bankruptcy. Running a museum that has lost its main attraction, and it was only supposed to be gone for 8 months, but now it's going to be 2 years. So we've been hanging on by our fingernails.
Yeah, you mentioned that because it's been close to 13 months, I believe, 14 months since we last had you guys on. And I remember back then, we were talking about potentially in 2025, the ship coming back. So what has necessarily led to the ship being in dry dock longer than was originally planned?
More work needed. Something that people are going to find when they take their ship into overhaul period is you're going to find damage that you didn't expect. Even though the ship was surveyed by both engineers and by representatives of the shipyard prior to taking her down to Homa, where the shipyard's at, Thomas C. Marine Constructors. Once they started blasting away, taking the paint off, we found a lot of more damage to the hull than we had expected. And it wasn't necessarily corrosion either. I mean, we did find quite a bit of corrosion, but the damage that gave us the biggest start was electrolysis damage. Okay. Sitting in the Mississippi River, which is the main commercial highway of America, with traffic 24 hours a day, every day of the year, they're all emitting navigational signals, communications, whatever. And our ship is a big antenna pulling in all these electronic signals, which then try to find a way to ground. And if the ship's not well grounded, and especially when she's out of water, then it tries to find its own way, and it eats through the steel in various spots. So the whole bottom of the hull underneath the waterline was pockmarked with these electrolysis divots in the steel. Yes. And so there were two ways of fixing those. If the divot wasn't, we had a certain threshold set, and if it did not pass the threshold, then the divot was clad welded, which is laying down welding into the hole and filling it in and then smoothing it out. If it went past the threshold too deeply in, then the steel was diseased and had to be cropped out and replaced. So this process went the entire length of the hull. We also had what we did expect, and that was damage where the ship had rested in the cradle. 40 years of going up and down and up and down and up and down, contacting what originally were neoprene pads, supposed to be, they were supposed to remain ductile forever, and a soft cushion, hardened over time, and basically worked against the ship. And of course, river traffic in going past the ship would send wakes, which would cause the ship to move slightly sideways. You know, the ship is anchored in the cradle by these two iron rings on her port side that fit over these dolphins that are driven into the seabed, and that allows the ship to go up and down with the river levels of the Mississippi. But unfortunately, there was a little bit of lateral movement in there. So we've addressed that in this overhaul period. Took a page out of Slater's book and put some Teflon rings inside the iron rings to take out that play. So hopefully going forward, we won't get that side to side pushing from passing ship wakes that we suffer. So you've got the PowerPoint thing here. So Tim was going to present this, but
we can talk about it.
Well, I can talk about it. Sure. Yeah. I mean, I was there.
Yes. Tim sent me this at just a little after midnight my time. So I was quite excited to see it. And yeah, he gave us a basic understanding here, like one of the reasons why you had to go for dry docking.
Yeah. Hey, Fungi. Anyway, yeah, she had not had a dry dock for structural repair in almost 60 years. If you look at the handbook that the Department of the Interior uses for these museum ships is supposed to get an overhaul, go into dry dock for some structural repair every 10 years. That's if they're in salt water. If they're in fresh water, you can extend that to 20 years. Kidd had not had a dry dock in over 60 years. So the time was now. And this was basically the reason why I came to Baton Rouge, was to get this ship into an overhaul period. She'd been sitting in her cradle for 40 years. And like I said, she moves up and down. The cradle's pretty well designed. It's interesting. It was a unique structure. There's nothing like it anywhere else in the world. It was actually designed by a political cartoonist from one of the local newspapers who, the engineers were trying to figure out, well, do we do it to a dock? Do we move the dock up and down? Because the Mississippi River can rise and fall 40 feet. In London, HMS Belfast has similar tidal rises of the Thames River that can be as high as 30 feet or so. And they have a series of chains that anchor to the bottom and allow the ship to rise and fall. But so they were throwing around all kinds of ideas. And this guy just sketched, well, how about you take a couple of poles, put some rings on, attach them to the ship, slides up and down. They looked at it, and engineers took it off and did some number crunching and came back and said, yeah, I think that'll work. And so they built it, and it's been serving us pretty well for 40 years. But again, you do this over time. There's nothing. I mean, Shane his destroyer slams into the river bottom on occasion. We slam into keel blocks. Essentially, underneath the ship is kind of a reproduction of a dry dock. They have these keel blocks. The only difference is in a shipyard, you can move the keel blocks to address certain areas here and there. Here, they're fixed. So the ship always came down on the same spots the whole time. And people say, well, why don't you work on it there on the river's edge? No. There's a whole bunch of reasons for that. Number one being, why would you do shipyard work outside of a shipyard? Why would you do it by untrained personnel? Why would you do it on an unstable, recently dewatered riverbed? If you can sink up to your knees in mud, imagine trying to put a lift down there, try and get up to these things. So it just, we needed to go to dry dock, and getting the money for it was always the big hindrance, but the time had come. And actually that last year we had one night where we almost lost the ship. We had too many leaks that were starting to overwhelm us. Our power became unstable. The pumps weren't working because of the unstable power, and we had to quickly get portable generators out there just to run the pumps to keep her. Now, if she had sunk, she would have sunk in her cradle. But, and people say, well, what's the big deal? Just let her sit there, let the water rise up. You let the water rise up into the bottom of your vessel, now you got a hazmat condition, because now that water looses all the grease. I mean, it's been degreased and de-oiled and everything like that, but you cannot get all of the grease and all of the oil out of even the cleanest of these warships. So that stuff finds its way out, and next thing you know, you've got a hazmat problem there. So the time had come. We got her out just in time. And I'll mention that year, 2024, was a drought year, and we only got the river level that we needed to get her out of the cradle for a period of 2 days, and it was minimal. It was so minimal, we had to cut 4 feet off the bottom of the rudder in order to get her out completely. And
yes, I believe you include a photo of that in this.
Yeah, you might get to it. And I mention that because 2026 is shaping up to be worse than 2024. Oh, wow. It's not trending our way. We need 32 feet of river water level height to get her into the cradle, and and the forecasts for the river only go out 28 days, and they're not completely reliable, but it's the only thing we got to go with. And I'm looking at the end of March right now, and we're only just barely getting above 20 feet. And April and May is traditionally our high water time. So everybody's planning a grand return for Kidd. And at this point, I can't guarantee we can get her back this year. So we'll see. Anyway, what's the next slide?
Yeah. So the next slide here
yes,
basically talks about, trimmed by divers to exit the cradle. Valves pump out of the tanks. Yeah. And I remember this day, it happened really suddenly. It was like, I wake up and the news is already talking about the kids down the river.
No, we had to go. I mean, It was, the time is now, let's go. That day, we didn't know that we could go.
Right.
And what really helped was, we were going off blueprints, not just blueprints of the ship, but blueprints of the cradle and everything that had been done when they built it. We had some surveys of the bottom done, but we weren't sure we were going to get out based on the figures that we had in front of us. But the salvage team, TNT Salvage, had some divers go in the water, and they visually verified that we had the clearance. The elevation numbers on the blueprints for the cradle were off, and that any number of reasons that the cradle could have settled over the 40 years into the mud. The river's a dynamic environment, but we suddenly had it, and we said, let's go. We just got to go for it.
Yeah.
So it was a matter. One day we had to remove the gangway that required a huge crane from a floating barge to come remove the gangway, and then the next day we were able to get her out.
Nice.
Trimming the rudder that was the decision I had to make. And actually it was an easy one to make because Kidd's rudder had been enlarged after the World War II. In the Cold War era, they enlarged her rudder to try and give this destroyer a little bit better turning radius. And so cutting 4 feet off basically cut off the post-war extension. So the rudder has been restored by the shipyard and restored to original World War II dimensions, which means it's 4 feet shorter. So between that and cutting off the post-war sonar dome, it should be easier for us to get back in. But still, we need 32 feet. That's an elevation problem right there.
Yes, I remember you talking about way back when we did our last interview with you that your whole mission has basically been to convert the Kidd back to her 1945 appearance.
Yes,
or at least the closest proximities you can get.
No, August of 1945, and we're really close.
Mm-hmm.
One of the major alterations that has always wanted to been done. This goes back to Tim Rizzuto and his desires back when he was converting the ship to the 1945 configuration back during the 1980s, was to restore the steward's quarters. During World War II, African Americans who joined the Navy could only become messmen, to serve white officers. That's the only rate that they were allowed into, starting with the FDR administration. And they had segregated berthing. Well, then after the war, Truman integrated the military, and so the steward's quarters were ripped out, and some post-war radar support equipment was put in that place. And they changed the ladders and everything, and this was on the way down to the mess deck. So on the Kidd's tour, there was always this very uncomfortable spot where you came down one ladder and you had to squeeze around a tight corner to go down another ladder. It wasn't very natural, but that was Kidd's post-war configuration because they had to put a dumbwaiter through those decks to replace, what the stewards would take from the galley on the main deck down to the mess decks down below, and so to convert it back to steward's quarters, we had to rip out that dumbwaiter. We had to realign the ladders to the original configuration. We had to tear apart the. They put a wall up in that space to close off some of it. We had to tear that out, remove all the equipment that was in there, and now we have to go in and put in hooks to hang racks and restore that space to a living space after it's been a radar utilization space for all these years. But with that change, we are in the high 90% percentile of being August 1945 accurate with Kidd.
Awesome. So basically, if someone wants to experience what life was like on a World War II destroyer, once Kidd's back and open again, that's probably the closest you're going to get.
Yeah. So you go aboard some of these museum ships. You go aboard something like the Midway, or let's say New Jersey, or one of the carriers. Like Hornet or Lexington, and they're big ships, and they have room to put museum displays. And in the case of Midway, there's a lot of activities on board there, flight simulators and things like that. A lot of stuff for the families to do, and this all generates revenue. I'm not the least bit being critical of it, but we simply don't have that space aboard Kidd. So our approach to Kids, and luckily we have a museum building ashore. We can have our exhibits. We can have our museum in the building ashore. Kidd can be a time capsule, since she's the only destroyer in the world, I believe, still in her World War II configuration. We want to make Kidd a time capsule. We want to set it up so it looks like the crew just left 5 minutes ago, and you're seeing what's left behind and everything. So that's the guidance for us putting the ship back together and getting her ready for tours again.
Right. So the next slide here has these quite amazing pictures of her in the dry dock, and you can see how they by the looks of it, they sandblasted her down to the bare steel. And how long of a process was this just to get the ship ready for a repaint and rebuild? Because I understand it was more than just paint and basic structural work that you did.
Okay, so what you're seeing here is early on, and blasting the ship did not take that long at all. They had it done in a few weeks. I mean, once they let loose on Kidd, that crew just they blasted through it. At the same time that they blasted, they also did a scan of the hull. You know, prior to going down there, we had done sample sound surveys of the hull, and that's how we had a general idea that the hull had not lost much the steel plating. And you know, destroyers are very thin, 3/8 inch steel. There's not a whole lot to corrode away, so we're very sensitive on how much steel we've lost over the years through corrosion or whatever. And our sampling showed that the hull was still pretty sound. What the sampling did not show were these electrolysis divots, because they were isolated little spots that we happened to miss in the sampling of the hull. So once we blasted it, then we could see all the divots, all the real damage in the hull. And stay on this for just a second.
Yep. All right,
so that took a couple of months to complete that whole process. And of course, not long after they blasted it, they covered everything with a coating of zinc. That one picture right there where she looks all silvery, that's after the zinc. The zinc, you know, as soon as you blast the steel, it starts to show surface rust. That's where you get the orangey, you know, the rust showing. So it's very important that you zinc it right after you blast it to preserve the steel.
Right. Fascinating. So the next picture here looks like you guys did a lot of interior structural work. I think you talked a little bit about this, but overall, was she in like you mentioned earlier, there was in worse shape, but were there areas that surprised you just how bad things had gone other than the damage caused by electrical? Was there anything else that you had been surprised before when you discovered it?
Yes, our keel had a lot of wasted steel in it. Again, that's from sitting on the keel blocks. We thought the keel was in pretty good shape because we didn't see a whole lot of leakage from that area. But once we got down in there, we saw areas where the keel had lost a lot of its mass and had to be cropped out, replaced. We had frames that had separated from the keel. That was very concerning. There was a lot of, and a lot of this had to do with water that got inside the hull we had I believe it was 8 hull breaches when we went down there. Picked up another couple on the trip. So we had about 10 hull breaches and once they blasted it, a lot of those little electrolysis holes, when the ship had been in the water, just a few feet down, you know, the more you go down from the surface, the more pressure you have pushing up against the hull here. You had some of these holes that while the ship was in the water, they didn't leak because the outside pressure was kind of pushing up against it and then if there was something inside the hull, like water, like in a ballast tank or something, it reached a kind of equilibrium. Once we took the ship out and there's no more outside pressure, all of a sudden water started gushing from tens, if not, well, I would say tens of pinhole leaks that we never even knew were there before we lifted her out of the water. Wow. So yeah, it was, I went around and took movie videos of all these little things of water coming out. We had no idea. So yeah, it was, it's a thing. And that's that's something I tell Shane more than once. Be prepared as much as you think you know what's going on with your ship. Once you get her in dry dock, be prepared. There's going to be a lot there that you didn't expect.
Absolutely. Shane and John, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, working with Tim and Park so closely, visiting when she was in a floating dry dock is really, they've been so unbelievably helpful to us. And again, trying to minimize our uncertainty about this and giving their experiences with kids specifically, but also with the Cobia and the New Jersey and the Texas and the COD, working with all of these organizations as we prepare to go to dry dock as well. I can't thank you enough for two Parks and Tim. Parks, did you want to talk about the worming, what you call worming? I think that was something.
Well, that was related to the electrolysis. We got these.
Okay.
I don't know.
Did
Tim put any pictures up there?
I don't see any.
No. So what he's talking about, along with these little divots in the hull, we saw all what he calls worming. It looks like worm trails in the steel, and that was simply the electrical currents trying to find the ground. They were searching around, tearing things up as they went, trying to find their way outside of the hull. It was very disconcerting. It looked a lot like the ocean bottom in the deep ocean. You'll have all these different little organisms underneath the ocean bottom, and you never see them. All you see are these worm-like tracks in the ocean bottom. It looked exactly like that. But what other slides do we have on here?
Okay, well, the next one I actually did want to ask about, because one of the things that had surprised me as I watched as an outsider was that you guys didn't just do hull work. You were like rebuilding parts of the deck, especially on the stern. I imagine it was due to steel fatigue. Well,
no. So another form of corrosion is putting dissimilar metals together. Wow. We noticed over the years with Kidd that our fantail area going up to our quarterdeck area at the aft end of the after deck house, just right there forward of Mount 55, we had severe pitting. And it was not very attractive because it was the first thing you saw when you came aboard. The gangway is right there, and you step off the gangway onto this horrible looking deck. And we tried to keep up with it with we would plate over it and try to work with it that way. There were areas where I would stand on the deck and the deck would flex underneath me. Didn't give me a very good feeling that it was going to be around for much longer. And this was a problem. So this was a contract item. We asked the shipyard to replace the decking, and what we found, the reason why it was mostly in the fantail area, is Ed Zakowski found this in a blueprint one day, that the metal back aft, the metal decks back aft were galvanized steel, and they butted up against mild steel. Whenever you put aluminum of the deck houses against a mild steel deck, or you rivet galvanized steel up against mild steel, that the mild steel plates that we put over some of the badly corroded areas and welded those down and painted over, we were creating this dissimilar metal corrosion, where it's a chemical reaction between the two different types of metal, and it's accelerated corrosion. So what they had to do is they had no choice but to rip all that out and replate it. And they replated all the way up to the quarterdeck, which actually wasn't in our contract. But the shipyard bought the steel for this, and then they came to us one day and said, "We have some extra steel. Would you like for us to rip up some more areas and do this?" And we said, "Yes, please." and so they did. So our quarterdeck, I don't see a picture of the restored quarterdeck, but it's beauty now.
I can maybe look near the end.
But yeah, again, you put two types of metal in contact with each other, you're going to have corrosion. What we did a lot of repair of the aluminum deck houses down low. They were eaten away from the deck up. We did a lot of repair of that in Baton Rouge, and when we repaired it, we put like a layer of Teflon between the two metals where they were welded together again, so that they wouldn't be touching, and we cut down on that dissimilar metal corrosion.
Really interesting. Yeah, so I believe the next frame is related to the berthing quarters we have already discussed.
Right. Yeah.
But that does lead me into another question. How much overall have you removed from the ship in terms of like additions to the vessel during the extended points of her career post World War II? And I think Tim Nesmith has joined the call. Tim is here. Hello.
Hey
guys. Sorry
welcome.
about being late.
No problem at all. Welcome to the party. Awesome.
I've been giving them my view, so why don't you give them the unicorn view?
So
unicorn?
You know, the rainbows and unicorns, the nice view. I've been giving them the doom and gloom.
Hey, James.
So you can answer this as well, Tim, if you didn't hear me, but I was wondering how much of the how much has been removed from the ship as you've converted it back to its 1945 appearance. Because I know there were a lot of modifications made during her time in the Cold War.
But not just in this dry docking.
Well, just in the dry docking in particular is what I was thinking. Like,
okay,
because
specifically for the dry docking, fantail decking, a little bit of decking on the forecastle, a little bit of decking on the 01 level where it got thin spots, and then plating along the sides. As far as plating below the water line and down, 30% was needed to be replaced, which honestly, compared to some of our sister ships in the historic fleet, I know Laffey had 100% replacement back in 2012 from the water line down. I'm not sure what Cass and Young had. It may have been more in the range of hours, but of course that was 15 years ago. So if it had waited this long, it may have been more because she was in saltwater.
Yeah.
I'm going to be interested to see what Shane encounters when they go to dry dock. But Shane has had the same thing that we've had, in that it's been freshwater. She's been in freshwater the whole time. So
right.
She may be like us and a lot better than the ones that have been in saltwater. For the picture that I'm seeing up here, we redid we backfit the fire control radar room, one level on the first level down, first platform, and the ladder well, and some of the metal work around the ladder well, dumbwaiter that had been put in 53, pulled all of that out so we could backfit it to World War II to get back to the steward's berthing the way it was in 45.
Right.
And then there's probably another slide after this showing the starboard mess deck passageway where we pulled out Cold War amplifiers, and we're going to put that back to what it used to be, which actually is in this slide here. I was talking to them today about helping us chisel out that concrete that you see in the foreground of the lower picture.
Oh, yeah.
And get that out of there. And you can see in the blueprints, there would be 2 bunks or 2 hammocks hanging right where those amplifiers were in World War II. And we'll either put the bunks up, we'll put the hammocks up. We'll have the option to do either one. If people can't leave the hammocks alone and they fall and hurt themselves, then we'll try some up and we'll put the bunks up. But underneath the bunks and the hammocks would be a 14-man table, and circumstantial evidence points that that's where the stewards' mates had a table to eat. separate and away from the rest of the mess deck crew.
I see.
And I think pretty much, Parks, correct me if I'm missing something. I think that pretty much would deal with missing, original metal being replaced or pulled out. There's some structural work down underneath the boilers, where they had to replace some of the wasted metal on the longitudinals and framing. And it was worse there's a few spots elsewhere where they had to do that, but most of it seemed to be concentrated in the fire rooms. And in one of our videos, we covered some of the possibilities for that, the high temperatures of the boilers affecting the steel underneath, possibly. I've read several oral histories where captains off Okinawa actually kept 2 or 3 feet of seawater in the bilge just for the crew if they took a serious hit in that area from an aircraft, like we did with the Kamikaze. The crew could dive down in there. If the boilers got ruptured, it would protect them from the steam, hopefully. And in a few cases it did, not so much Kidd, but some other destroyers. And then we discovered, for those that have been watching our YouTube video, in that survey that we did, where we crawled through all the voids and tanks and everything from stem to stern, from main deck down, we discovered in the aft engine room on the the forward-facing support structure for the reduction gear, the name TUS. And we reached out to Tin Can Sailors, the Destroyermen's Association, Veterans Association, and we asked them, hey, do you have in your membership somebody by the last name of TUS? We looked up his name in our crew roster, and sure enough, they did. And I had dug around on the internet a little bit. It's not as easy as it was in the 90s, but I found a first name and somebody who was about the right age, and it matched perfectly with our crew roster. And they had him. Yeah, he's in Montana. I was like, okay, I know you're not going to send his number to me, but would you send my number to him? I'd like to ask him some questions about how this graffiti got down here. And we got to talk with him, interview him and everything. And he told the story of how he was on Cold War. I'm gonna lie to you if I tell you a date, but he was on in Cold War, and he said the way they painted their bilges was they would pump in water into the bilge and fill it up to a certain point just below the walkway, and then they would pour gallons and gallons and gallons of paint on top of the water. And then very slowly they would pump the water out, and the paint would settle, and it would just be like they got every nook and cranny. They got in there and said, the officers would be like, that looks fabulous. How come nobody else can get into the nooks and crannies like that? And of course, what that's done is trap salt residue from the salt water between the steel and the paint. So I'm not a structural engineer. I'm not a chemist. I can't point and say this is the culprit for why some of that structure in the fire rooms was the way it was, but those are certainly possibilities. Maybe all of them cumulatively. I don't know.
It was funny. For a second there, I was about to say, hey, Shane, you should do that on Sullivan's when the time comes. But no, you've dissuaded in that regard. So
now I don't know why you asked that question, Connor, but I'm going to assume a motive here. We watched Texas during their overhaul period, and we saw their fundraising efforts, and we saw the steel that they cut off the ship and gathered in the shipyard and cut into little paperweights and sell 1 million of them and things like that. We thought, okay, we're gonna raise money with the steel we take off Kidd. Didn't work for us. We're not a battleship. Even though we took all these different things off of it, did not amount to much. The shipyard did not want to hold mountains of waste steel on their yard because it was a working yard. They always had projects coming and going and shifting around and stuff. And we didn't have the infrastructure to take the waste steel and do much with it. Basically, it came down to one day they said, go get the pile and take what you want out of it. And we took a few random things out of it that we could put into an exhibit on the overhaul. But as far as using any of the waste metal and turning around for monetization, we just weren't able. We don't have the operation that Texas has. We don't have a ship the size of Texas, and we didn't have a yard like Gulf Copper, where Texas is at, that could that could set aside an area for all the waste steel there. Those sonar amplifiers you see wrapped up there, they had to be destroyed because it was that's Navy equipment and could not be sold or gotten rid of, so they had to be destroyed. We cut off the sonar dome. We have it, or we will have it. Well, we do have it, don't we?
We have it.
Anyway, I don't know what we're going to do with it. It's a big ugly thing, and needs a lot of restoration work. And we don't have infinite storage space where we're at. We temporarily have a warehouse, but we're going to have to give it up at the end of this year for the artifacts that we took off the ship. But we just we tried to save what we could, but in the end, we had to say goodbye to a bunch of stuff. But we do sell rivets. We went around. Every time they did some work in there, those of us came down from Baton Rouge and picked up rivets off the floor of the dry dock, and that's what we are selling.
Well, that's a good moment to say that if you guys want to support the USS Kidd Museum and their ongoing restoration, support them at USSKidd.com, as well as check out their YouTube channel as well. I'm sure they will love the support. I had not thought about the buying the metal section when I had asked that question. I was just genuinely curious, but no, that's good to know. At least, Shane. There's Shane.
Yeah, Shane is showing a petrified Reese's peanut butter cup. And okay, wait. Put him up there, Shane. Put him up there. In the comments. What's the difference between these two rivets? Why are they shaped differently?
Very good. Good for engagement.
I'll give you a couple of seconds before I tell you what the difference is.
I'll answer Eric's question. Eric, yes, we do have rivets left. Come on down or order it online.
Mm-hmm. Actually, on that topic, do you ship to Canada?
I believe we do.
I think we do. Some countries, somebody placed an order from France, and I went to take it to the post office, and they said, nope, you can't mail metal to France of any kind.
Yeah, you can't.
So they, I don't know. It depends on the country and the country's laws. I think maybe to Canada. So the answer to the rivets, there was one that was shaped like a Reese's peanut butter cup. That is a countersunk rivet that once it's put in, it is flush with the rest of the steel around it. So that's for underneath the water line, so you don't get the drag off the raised rivet head. The one shaped like a mushroom is above the water line, and that's where you'll see these visible rivets. So if you ever see a picture of any riveted ship like Titanic or Kidd or the Sullivans or whatever, and it looks all smooth underneath the water line, yeah, it's riveted, but all those rivets are countersunk. And
I did
flushed.
not know that.
Yeah.
And that's the scientific answer, but I'm going with Mark in the comments. Some of us have innies and some of us have outies.
So obviously the work wasn't just limited to the ship itself. It also included other things on your vessels, like your AA guns here. Am I correct in understanding you had help from the Texas for some of this?
We didn't get help from the Texas. We sent them to Texas.
Right.
We sent our 40 millimeters, our two duals and our two quads to Texas because they had the tools, they had the talent. I mean, they have a workshop there in Houston that had done all the restoration on their guns. So why not go to the people who had the most recent experience and the tooling and all that to do the guns? Now, it wasn't free. We're paying them a good amount of money, but it's being done. It's going to be done right. We may get the duals back before the ship comes back to Baton Rouge. We don't expect to see the quads back until later in 2026, maybe 2027, depends on how much trouble they have with them. So Kidd, even though she comes back to Baton Rouge, she'll be missing a couple of her armament there, but we'll get them back, and then the kids can get on them and spin them around and raise them and lower them and everything, and have all kinds of fun. And what the shipyard did for us, these guns, these 40 millimeters were welded directly to the deck back in the 80s. So to make it even more, 1945 went into the plans and reconstructed the foundations for these guns, which the shipyard fabricated for us. So when they come back, instead of welding them to the deck again, we're actually going to bolt them on.
Excellent.
And shout out in regard to those foundations. We talk about #OneFleet. We're paying Texas to do the guns, but a lot of ships, museums, Shane was one of these, dug into their blueprints to try to find the plans for these foundations. John gave me full access to Slater's database and everything. Texas ultimately found us the blueprints for the foundations for the quads because they had something similar. And then Dwayne up at USS Hazard in Omaha, Nebraska, found us the blueprints for the twins because they are different. Mm-hmm. And both of them got us those blueprints, got them to the shipyard. The shipyard was able to go from there. So this was a perfect example of #OneFleet.
Fantastic.
Are the center wells of those being modified so that they don't hold water? It's a big problem we have.
I didn't hear you, John. I'm sorry.
The center wells of the 40s,
yes,
they collect water. Are you guys modifying that at all, or?
They put in weep holes so that on the back side of it, where the deck is sloping toward, so that everything will drain out.
Okay.
Very cool. And clearly, you also did work on your whale boats as well. How many do you have? Two. All right. And I know
I actually was in the shipyard today where they're being worked on. One of them, the captain's gig, is finished. And looks immaculate.
Lovely.
I'm like giddy with excitement. Paisley, who went with me on our social media team, has footage of me just going gaga over it. So that'll be coming out soon. People can watch me act like an idiot. And then the other one is starting, has been undergoing restoration, ripping everything down, getting the wood off, and they're going to blast the fiberglass a little bit harder than what they have, just to make sure any weak spots are exposed so that they can get it down to this good solid structure and then build back up from there.
Lovely.
These guys do quality work, and it's really impressive.
Yeah, that's amazing. So and then this is I'm guessing your 20 mils?
Correct.
I almost said 50 cals there. I would have been scolded for that.
This is them coming off of the ship. All of these pictures is everything coming off. So you see.
Yeah, I'm just looking through them now. And the torpedo directors, the gun directors, you guys left nothing to change. Oh, and we were talking about this before you came on, Tim. There is the aft deck now. The stern.
Yep.
That is impressive.
Yeah. All of that stuff came off, went down on the floor of the dry dock, and they put it all back together. And I would defy anybody to find something even a half inch off. They
is
really
incredible.
did a good job with placement and returning it.
Yeah.
Hey, Tim.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you want to, when I was down there and when Ken was also down there, you talked about your depth charge rack and the adjustment that you made that will help when the ship goes to dry dock again, or if you needed to do work in Baton Rouge. Do you want to explain that story? I thought that was pretty cool.
Sure. And this was something that the shipyard came to us about versus us going to them about. You can't see it in this picture, but behind the 20 millimeters, right on the end of the stern, the depth charge tracks, there's 4. There's 2 tracks that roll the depth charges off, and then 2 tracks inside that are basically storage for spares. The 2 tracks that roll off, John will tell you, because he used his to damage a rogue passenger boat that decided they wanted to play chicken with Slater, but they jut out over the back of over the water, out from the back of the ship. So there's a protrusion. It also keeps the depth charges from being dropped right on top of your props. So when they got ready to take us out of the cradle, they had to come up and cut those loose so that these flat-faced push boats that are tying up to the stern to push her while another one tows from the bow wouldn't tear up those racks. So they knew this would be an issue coming home. So they came to us and said, here's what we want to do. We don't want to weld these back into place. We want to set them on the deck, mark where they connect, and then put connection points, and then design it. It won't be World War II authentic, but it's a decent compromise. You'll bolt these things on through these connection points. And so they modified the tracks just by drilling a hole and then have these tabs basically on the deck that they connect to and bolt into. And so right now, those are sitting way up high, jacked up high on blocks inboard so that they're not protruding over. And so the minute they get ready to take her out of the yard, the boat's going to tie up. Off we go. We get her back to Baton Rouge, dock her, and then they'll come down. They're going to do touch-up painting for us as well.
Awesome.
From rubbing on that new paint coming up river and through the Gulf. And then they'll set those down, bolt them in place, and nobody would be any the wiser if Shane hadn't said something on the air for everybody to hear.
So we do have a question from.
I love you.
Yes, the answer is yes. We did put non-skid down on the entire main deck.
Excellent. Was that authentic or was that a conscious safety choice? Okay, great.
Authentic.
I wish when I worked on a museum ship, I wish we had no skid decks sometimes. That would have been fantastic. So we did talk briefly about the rudder earlier in the show, and I believe that's what we're seeing here now. So you had mentioned that the rudder had been basically made larger to increase its turning ability. How much work did you end up having to do to bring it down more to an authentic World War II? Because I can see you did a lot of cutting.
Well, the jagged bottom that you see there is what the divers did before we left Baton Rouge. And be mindful that in the Mississippi River, they were doing it by feel. There's zero visibility in the river of mud. And so that was the best they could do. But as you can see, what they cut off was basically right around the dimensions that we needed it to be.
Perfect.
So that was a restoration of that. If anybody's wondering, those white squares and frames that you see there are sacrificial anodes that had been put on the ship. Originally, in 1960s, on her last overhaul, they put 24 sacrificial anodes back near the stern, where you've got a lot of those dissimilar metals, the bronze of the props, the mild steel, other type of metals back there. A lot of activity back there with the turning of the props, etc. So that's where they concentrated the anodes on the ship. Based on the electrolysis damage that we saw throughout the entire length of the ship, we decided to be non-authentic, and we put anodes, over 100 anodes, everywhere where down the length of the ship, and especially concentrated back on the stern, where we potentially had the most threat of electrolysis damage. Now, the Navy had put zinc anodes on because zinc works in salt water. Zinc did nothing in the fresh water of the Mississippi, so we replaced them with magnesium anodes, which will do the job in fresh water.
I believe I remember back when New Jersey got dry docked, Ryan talked about that, because I think they had a similar situation as well. Possibly even one of the submarines as well. I think maybe COD has something. Evan, you can clarify if you're still in the chat. But yeah, amazing work.
Connor, can you go back one slide to the single?
Yes, I can.
So to give you an idea of what was cut off,
Right.
If I'm pointing, nobody can see it. If you look at the back end of the rudder there, you notice what looks like a dent going straight down?
Yep.
So that is the addition that they put on the tail end of the rudder. And then at the front of the rudder, you can see it's a straight line going straight down.
Right.
And then they put an addition, which really the addition you can't see on the bottom because the silt was built up around it. But if you go back to the before and after, look at the front of the rudder now.
Yes.
See how it's angled. So that shows you the difference there. And then look at the old picture on the left, and you see it's not as easy to see that extension, but look at the very top of the back of the rudder versus the stern above it. And then look at the back of the rudder. And if you can downsize it a little bit again to where it gets out from under the logo. There you go. You see how much more room there is between the back of the rudder and the stern. Parks did a really great job with this perspective of getting it perfectly lined up because you can see the difference in the size now.
Yes. Really good.
So that's why she couldn't turn worth a crap versus the Iowas.
Really, Fletcher's had a worse turning circle?
Yep.
Really?
Documented.
You wouldn't think that's the case. All my years of World of Warships have been lying to me.
I liken it to something the younger generation will understand now. She would Tokyo drift. Her tail end would just slide instead of cut in.
Right. So there's a few more pictures here, and what are we looking at here?
Steward's quarters.
Quarters. Okay.
Looking forward. You see where the room was partitioned was cut in half by that wall there.
Yep.
And everything that was in the room, which is already taken out, even in the left picture, is completely taken out in the right hand picture. So we've got to restore that to a living space.
Mm.
The last 4 Fletchers, Eric, had twin rudders as built. And no modifications brought any twin rudders to any of the rest of them. They just added length and depth to it.
And this is looking aft in the steward's quarters.
In the same room.
Same room. You can see where the ladders have been moved. You can see the scuttle and the deck. You had to come down that ladder where the guy is on the ladder and make a very sharp turn to go around the scuttle and then go down again. Now the scuttle's moved underneath the ladder coming from above, so you've got a lot more room there.
Wow.
And if you look underneath Antonio's foot where he's standing on the ladder in the left-hand picture, you see that piece of wood laying on the deck?
Yeah.
That is covering the hole where the dumbwaiter shaft passed in front of that ladder. So when Park said you had to squeeze through, you had to squeeze through because they had a shaft right in front of it.
So is this from the outside?
That's the ladder coming down. This is where it is. So before you can see the whole scuttle is moved forward, which allows us now to close that off with a watertight door, which is what it was before. And if you look to the left, if you look through the breakwater, you'll see another breakwater beyond it. That was a fake breakwater. If you look at the side of the Fletcher, it had the bulwark on the side has a swoop shape to it. And Kidd, I don't know how many, because Sullivan's and Cass and Young don't have this, but we had a double swoop, and it looked weird. It just looked weird, but that's gone now. We're back to a one single swoop. And we're looking World War II-ish.
Yeah, here it is.
Yeah,
I put that in just for you, Parks.
Not just for me, for Tim Rizzuto. I inherited my hatred of this from him.
Now, do you think this was? I think Tim, I remember you speaking about this. Was there some belief that was for protection for the dumbwaiter and getting to the dumbwaiter and sending the food down, or?
Yeah, they basically moved the dumbwaiter forward. They cut not the dumbwaiter. They moved the breakwater forward and just cut the bottom out of the old breakwater. So you had basically a double breakwater, but one was no longer functioning as a breakwater. So that sits right in front of the entrance to the dumbwaiter where they were putting the food. It's to protect the mess crew.
Sounds good. So is this the galley or the?
Yeah, that's more of it. I mean, that's one deck down from the steward's quarters. Now you've got the ladder in the right place, and where there was a dumbwaiter, you now have access to a storage area.
You see the difference with the wall in the new picture and the ladder?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so that's what that's showing you.
And that little wall over to the right, the shipyard took the extra time to make fake little rivets, make it look riveted, so it would retain its World War II appearance. They didn't have to do that; it wasn't part of the contract. They just did it.
Very cool.
We love Thomas.
The shipyard really adopted the ship.
Yeah,
they did. They did, and that was I cannot tell you how important that was. They cared about this ship as much as we did, and they were always conversations about. Well, first they'd ask us questions. How do you want this to look? How should it look? And then after a while, they started coming to us with, we could do this, and we can make this look more period if we do this. And yeah, sure, it was great. It was a great two-way conversation.
Sounds fantastic.
Not everybody has had that experience in a dry dock. We heard from other ships their experiences with shipyards, and we were very worried about all the oversight that we would have to give them, and we just don't have the manpower. Right. we had to let half our staff go and go down to a skeleton staff just to keep the Baton Rouge Museum open, much less have extra people to send 2 hours down to Homa to oversee things there. But it turned out our oversight was not needed. The shipyard cared about our ship, and we didn't have to look over their shoulder because we knew they were doing a quality job.
It's now that they're doing their research. Before we move on, just a quick side thing. Our chat has turned into a debate on whether or not there are too many Fletchers in World of Warships. As a Haida main myself, I think yes. Stop. I'm tired of getting chased by them. So we can continue on.
Fletchers were the backbone of the Navy in World War II. You got to have Fletchers.
Yeah, but there's like 10 of them now. 10 different versions.
Okay. How are you going to get your mail? You guys with carriers. What's going to happen when your aviators go down to drink?
Those
Who's going to do your shore bombardment?
We don't do shore bombardment. Actually, no, there are special operations for that. Okay. So the next one here, like obviously your searchlights are going. What are those little things on the left? That's
our 40 millimeter gun directors.
Right.
And this is the finished product. This is us shipping it back to Thomas C. Nathan Bergeron and our volunteer Fred Inners and Turner Industries here in Baton Rouge collaborated and got everything brought down to bare metal, cleaned it up, painted it the new camouflage, and got it lifted onto the trucks and got it back to the shipyard before we came out of dry dock. Turner was really, really fabulous coming in because Nate had done a great job. He was getting up to the deadline. He was getting in a crunch because, he's one man working, and then Fred coming in and helping when he can as a volunteer. But it was a lot of work to do. And Turner came in and said, you know what? We've got a paint room. We can put all of this in the paint room, bring it down, paint it up for you. You tell us what colors you want. We'll do it for you for free. Mm-hmm. And then we didn't have a forklift to move this stuff around. And Turner's like, we'll truck our forklift over to your warehouse and we'll load it up, take it away, and then we'll bring it back and set it down. And then when you get ready to send it to Thomas C., we'll bring the forklift and we'll lift it up. So
yeah.
Fabulous people. Celtic Studios also helped with one of their forklifts on one of the trips.
Mm-hmm. So I guess this is more work here. It just looks really good with the fresh paint job. All
Yep.
this stuff. Yeah, that
Everything
just
looks better with the fresh paint job. I mean, I'm not
indeed.
gonna lie.
Oh wow! So that's them back in place.
Minus their sights, because
Right.
it's something that could have been broken going
Right.
down. So we held that off.
So okay.
So
I was hoping that was before and after, but
old
okay.
is on the right side, new is on the left side.
Okay. Wow.
The computer messed me up with that.
Okay. And then I guess this is one of your whaleboats.
Yes, the one on the left is the one that's about to, they've already brought it down to that point, but all the wood is taken off of it now. And they're about to hit it with a little bit harder stuff to make sure that they don't have any weak spots. The one on the right is after they did all that to that one, and then they're working back up the fiberglass, building it back up, reinforcing it where there was weak spots. Before they painted it. And that's the one that maybe tomorrow we'll be having some finished pictures up on our social media for people to see.
I'm looking forward to that. And this is just more work on the inside here.
Correct. You see where the wood was removed on the left side.
Yeah.
And the plank, you can still see some. No, the planking is gone on the seats, but you can see where the screw heads were for them. They haven't removed those yet.
Yeah. John, you have a whaleboat, correct?
Yes, it's down at the port of Albany right now, being stored for the winter, but we'll have it back end of April, early May.
Yeah, because that's like one of the things I always see about Slater is you guys have a working whaleboat. Well, working most of the time. Most of the time.
It took many years to restore. It was in horrible condition. Most of the wood planking had to be replaced. New engine.
Mm-hmm.
And John, that's an original World War II boat, correct?
Yes, there's a chance it's original to Slater. It came back with Slater from Greece.
Oh, wow.
But they also had other destroyer escorts, so it's impossible to know.
Right.
Now, these boats here, Tim Rizzuto was able to acquire from the Navy when the cruiser Albany decommissioned. So they're fiberglass. And then Tim came up, Tim grew up messing around with wooden sailboats and everything. So Tim modified them with wooden, planking and ribbing and everything, and went out into the reserve fleet and found a wooden rudder from an old wooden whaleboat, and then a metal rudder from probably Korea era. And he doctored these boats up originally in the 80s.
That would have been very awkward because there was a short-lived attempt to preserve the Albany. So if that had succeeded, would have had to come repo the whaleboats.
He'd already drilled into them with screws and everything. They wouldn't have been.
Okay. So here she is. Is this like right after she got into the dock?
This is her coming out of the water. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there she is now. Look at that. So I'm not sure what Shane and John think, but when I look at this, firstly, I'm so used to seeing the original or the previous paint scheme for Kidd that this almost throws me off. But is there a record of exactly what she looked like in August of 45? That's what you use for reference for this particular Dazzle?
No. Okay. Let me take this.
All right.
Go back to the before picture.
Right.
That's measure 22.
Right.
That is absolutely historically correct for August of 1945 for USS Kidd.
Right.
Go to the next one. That's my decision.
Okay.
Kidd wore this throughout all of 1944. And she wasn't in the 1945 configuration. And there's some subtle differences. I had to actually adjust the camouflage pattern to meet the 1945 configuration. But I felt that with 40 years on the Baton Rouge riverfront, and when I first moved to Baton Rouge and was going out in town to buy furniture to put in my home and everything, wear my USS Kidd hat, and people say, USS Kidd, is that the ship that you were in the Navy? No, that's a museum ship downtown. We have a museum ship downtown? Yeah. And if the river's low, you sometimes can't see the ship over the top of the levee if you're driving by. So I felt that we needed a change. And I had to convince Tim Nesmith to not stab me through the heart for doing this.
I wouldn't be that blatant.
What we've decided to name this instead is this is an educational opportunity. It's a homage to kids. You know, she wore 3 different camouflage measures during her service in World War II. She was all blue in 1943. She was this dazzle in 1944. And then she had the graded measure in 1945. Okay. She's going to be in this for a while. And then the next time we paint her, she's going to go to something else, either go back to 1945 or may do all blue 43. I don't know. But I'll be gone by then, and somebody else can make that decision.
I see.
You guys need to do the jungle dazzle camouflage.
She didn't wear it.
Educational opportunity.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
just get more and more absurd.
So there you go. That's why she's coming back in dazzle. So
yeah. Well, she looks stunning.
Anybody wants to curse me, go ahead. If you like it, send me money. Send the ship money, museum money.
Yeah. Perfect opportunity to just mention again that if you want to support the USS Kidd in their restoration work, head to their website at USSKidd.com, where you can either make a donation or buy something from their gift shop, which is something I'm looking at possibly doing in the very near future. So please go out and support. And I say this every episode, please support your local museum ship or your favorite museum ship, wherever it is in the world, because they all need it. They all need the support. And that's all, folks, at least according to this slide. So there we go. And just quickly, I'd like to thank Tim for sending me these slides. They arrived in my inbox just after 12 o'clock in the morning. So I was just dozing off to sleep when my phone popped up, and I was like, oh, okay, great. I'll look at them in the morning. No, it's fine. It's always great to see pictures of ships, but fascinating. Like, the work you guys are doing is incredible. Shane, John, do you have any comments?
Yeah, Parks and Tim, both of you, this 2-year period of doing this, have you been able to separate yourself from being an employee, just to take a minute and realize you guys just dry docked a Fletcher class destroyer? Have you been able to geek out about that yet? Or are you just still stressed about the entire process?
I'll let Parks go first.
Well, as the executive director of the museum that has employees, I actually was more busy with the work of the museum than I ever have been the whole time I've been here. So I did not have as much time to geek out. There were times when I told Tim, I said, are you going to Homa? I got to go to Homa. I got to reconnect with the ship. I got to go touch it because I'm losing, you know, the feel of it. The ship's my passion. It's what brought me to Baton Rouge. And right now, even the ship is now being run by people who are looking to fundraise with it and do a major party with it and get political support with it, all stuff outside my realm. So I probably won't get the ship back until she's back. The party's over. All the people who want to stand in front of the camera have had their moment. And then it's back to the routine business of running a museum ship museum.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, I have no memory of that, so I can't confirm or deny it. It may have been me saying no unless you've donated so that we could do another High Seas History with Ryan or one of these guys. So As far as John, your question, I may be the wrong person to ask. Everybody was giving me crap, Parks included, when I got off the ship in Homa, and it's like, you took the ship around. The ship is here. Are you excited? And I'm like, I was working. I was doing, I forget what they call it. I was patrolling the ship the whole time, going down river and through the Gulf and up the canal, listening for leaks, that sort of thing, what you're supposed to do when you're underway. So HMS Bounty taught me that when I got to cruise on that to Tampa Bay back in 2001, 2002. So I was in complete work mode. And there'll be times to where I take a moment and I'm just looking at her up in dry dock, and there's a moment to where it's like, okay, there's nothing else to do. I've done everything I need to do. That's a real pretty picture. I want to take a picture of that sort of thing. But have I geeked out about it? I don't think so. I think everybody expects me to do that Brandy Chastain thing from the Women's World Cup of ripping my shirt off and whipping it around and everything. And maybe that's just not me. I don't know. But I will say I am excited that we've accomplished what we've accomplished. If my excitement isn't like exuding out boisterously, that's because, Parks and I were talking about this yesterday. It's like, Parks didn't do this alone. Tim didn't do this alone. Nate didn't do this alone. This was all part of a team. And there's a lot of people that their names haven't been called out because there's so many, which is why earlier I wanted to give credit to Dwayne at the Hazard, and you, John, and Shane and Texas for looking for those blueprints, because when they pulled equipment off the ship, they didn't just pull equipment off the ship. They pulled the foundations off. They got rid of the blueprints. You don't need it anymore. Pull it out of the collection. And that's hard to come back from. So the people who donated money and all that, I'm sorry if I don't seem really excited. Maybe when the ship gets back and I take my 30-day vacation, because after we get her back together some and just disappear for a while, maybe during that I'll be like, woohoo! But
Now, the moments of introspection come when she's back in her cradle, when we've got her back, because we haven't got her back yet. And there's so much that has to happen before then. I can't rest until she's back in her cradle. And then we have to put her back together. And that's going to take months. Like I said, in addition to the 40s coming back later this year or maybe next year, we still have to put all the artifacts back on the ship. Everything that we had to take off took close to 8 months to take all the artifacts off the ship. We've got to put her back in record time because everybody's going to be excited and want to go aboard and take the tours and everything. And we're going to institute new capability like audio tours now, which we haven't had before. But it's those it's not when you think, it's those odd mornings when there's a little bit of fog on the Mississippi River and you get to work early and the museum's not open yet, and you're just going out to open up the ship, or you even go out there before the tour guides open up the ship for the day, and you just walk around the decks on your own and you see things in your mind's eye. For me particular, as some of you know, whenever I walk the Kidd, I see Kidd and Johnston at the same time. They're both very closely the same ship to me. And I feel it then. So, but that's when everything's going as it should and things are quiet. That's the moment for the introspection and to appreciate what we've got here.
Yeah, I totally agree. So anyone else have some final thoughts? Any questions for Parks and Tim? All right. In that case, Parks and Tim, do you have any final comments to say to our audience tonight here?
After you, boss.
I'm saying I see one of the comments says that we're devoted to this ship. Every single member of my staff, myself included, we don't get paid for the work we do. I mean, we get paid, but I took a 50% pay cut to come to this ship. McDonald's down the street pays their workers more than I can pay our tour guides or our entry-level people. The mid-level staff, the managers, our business manager, our operations manager, our curator, they could make more money elsewhere, but they work there because they love the ship. And that's the kind of people that run these museum ships. So the only thing I would ask is go easy on them. You know, you might be a Navy veteran, come on board and hear a tour guide say something, you know, in the Navy that doesn't square with your naval experience. Don't yell at them. That's happened before. Understand that they're there for you, and they're not getting paid a whole lot to do it. So my hat's off to my team. I hope I can keep them together before they come back. And I hope to, when she does come back and I have to hire up again, that I can find people who are as dedicated as the ones that are currently on the staff. So these comments are a shout out to everybody that works on these museum ships. It's not just Kidd. This is across the board. So good on your museum ships, people.
Amen to that. Tim, do you have anything to say as well?
Just to tag on to that, right now, I think we've got 10 staff members, and out of the 10, only 50% of them have ever been on the ship because she's been gone for 2 years. One of them, Paisley, went down with me today, and she was glowing as she walked around the ship. She's just walking around in awe because the last time she was on board, she was so young she doesn't remember it. She knows she went on board, but she has no memory of it. And she was walking around the ship just excited. And then on the way back in the car, we're talking, and I asked her how it was, and just broke out this humongous grin, just probably the sort of grin that John is looking from me for. Just so happy that she finally got to set foot on the ship. And then she was like, I really want to learn more about it. I've read the docent's manual, but I really want to learn more about the terminology and the anatomy of the ship. So the last 45 minutes of the drive was her asking about what is this called and what is that called. And I'm basically giving a school lesson in naval terminology vocabulary. So
she was so enraptured that she left her phone behind, and you had to turn around and go back and get it. And that's why you were late.
Yes. And we walked right to her phone. It was a beautiful thing. So
awesome. Well, that's
an expensive loss. I was really fearful for her of having to replace that phone.
Yeah. Just one thing. Thank you, Eric, for the $20 towards another High Seas history.
And Eric, you're probably going to have to bump that up because Ryan knows what a High Seas history is now. So getting him for another one may be a little more expensive.
Okay. So John, Shane, any more questions?
No, sir.
All right. Well, in that case, because we did our show, our basically summary of our museums at the beginning of the show this month, that's it. So we hope everyone has a fantastic evening. I am Connor with museumships.us. We have Shane Stephenson from the Buffalo Naval Park, John Epp from USS Slater, and Parks and Tim Nesmith from the USS Kidd. One final time, if you want to support the USS Kidd, USS Slater, or Buffalo Naval Park, please check out their websites at usskidd.com. They're all over the place. USSslater.org and buffalonavalpark.org. Thank you all for watching tonight, and have a great evening. Thank you.